Black Mirror. Haven't talked about it for a few weeks. This is season 1, episode 3. I've gonna go back and kind of watch them all through, but kind of intermittently, right? So this is the entire history of you. This was actually not a binary. Would you not? Because that's sort of like built in, right? But it's more like challenging what seems like a good idea with the moral conundrum and the problem of sort of like the circle. So unlike some of the other episodes where I've been very critical of how it shoehorns you into like a very finite would you not, this is more like just an experience and the consequences of something, and would you do that, would you make that move or not. So it's definitely more of a narrative and a structure that was actually more interesting than some of the other episodes, in my opinion. I enjoyed this one a lot. I have to admit, Jodie Whittaker is one of the co-stars, and I can barely stand looking at her, so that didn't go well for me. But I don't really care for Tom Cullen much. He's from Downton Abbey, and he plays kind of like this love interest jerk, douchey kind of guy. I don't know if I say his name right. Toby Kebbell or Cabell. I first kind of found him through like his work over on the Planet of the Apes, but he was in War Horse and Wrath of Titans and stuff like that. He's been around, he's done a lot of stuff, and I actually like him a lot. And here he plays the main character, Liam. And it starts off with like a little job performance thing, and they have a microchip, a little like a bead or something that's embedded into their head. It's called a grain, and it lets you sort of like rewatch these moments of your life. You get to kind of like rewind and kind of relive these kinds of things, right? And it starts off with that sort of the performance evaluation, the job application thing doesn't go well. And then he ends up showing this memory or showing this moment to the group at a dinner party. And of course, this other guy, Jonas, is kind of mocking, kind of being a jerk. And he's kind of a douchey kind of guy anyway. And then as he's playing back this moment, he's picking up on all these little idiosyncrasies of his wife, the wife, and this comments made from her past, and this love, this love interest. It turns out it was this Jonas guy, and she's kind of caught in the lie, and it's basically just kind of a mess. And they basically, it's just, there's all sorts of weird things about like they don't actually like enjoy one another. Sometimes they'll enjoy old memories to have intimate moments, things like that. So I thought all of that was just very strange and odd, but not necessarily out of the purview of what could happen and what could develop, or you're so trapped into only these positive moments, the addiction of the positive, the addiction of the things that make you feel a certain way and whatever, rather than having to work through things that are subpar or even difficult or challenging. That was very, very interesting. So all this kind of works, and basically the show sort of kind of is a spiral out of control for Liam, where he goes from these moments through these memories and all these things through the dinner party and seeing his wife and all these different moments where he's just kind of picking up on everything, and he's just becoming increasingly obsessed and unhinged over everything, right? And I really liked all that. The confrontation I thought was weird because it's like, why would he come back? And it was more like Liam is just played more like he's just such a wussy guy. He didn't bother to say no. And then you have all the rewinding, the fights, and the intimacy that I was talking about. But you end up getting to like this weird obsession where he's like going to confront the Jonas guy on his own, and you end up with this weird car thing and a confrontation at the house. But all this stuff can be redone. All of these things can be redone. And what ends up happening is, and this is where the big spoiler is. If you don't want the big spoiler, you have to hop out here for a minute. Because it is sort of like again, this is more of a narrative rather than like shoehorning you into A or B, right? Because you really don't have to do anything. You could just take this as a commentary on these characters' lives. Like you don't have to necessarily relate to it. It's not forcing you into their world because there's so many other characters that are presented. But here they have a child together. And what comes to find out is it may not actually be his child because she had an affair. He forces her to play the redo of them like having their moment together and stuff, and then having these other moments and things like that. And then he basically just gives up on everything and decides he's going to take out the chip. He's going to take it out. So would you have the chip taken out or not? That's literally the closest it comes to a binary, but it's not like you don't have to take it out. Like it's different. Like you would just have to live with the consequences of leaving it in. And then so it's trying to show you that there would be a dark side of being stuck by living in the past. Your past, the moral conundrum is really that you have to let the past stay in the past and learn from it to move forward, right? You don't want to be repeating the same mistakes. You want to reflect on positive things and certain things you want to anchor on as far as positives go. But when it comes to negatives and struggles and things like that, obsessing over the minutia and living in the past is very, very crippling to moving forward, crippling to the moments and living now. And I think this is an episode that really tries to dive into that, dissect that a little bit, challenge you a little bit on that of would you do this or not, but not as sort of like strong as before. The performances are fine, even Jodie Whittaker. I think all of that was fine. I just didn't really care too much about all these superficial characters, even Jonas and stuff. Like they're just all very much like presented as sort of like very douchey people, not anyone like I'd want to hang out with or get to know or I can empathize or sympathize with or not. They're just whatever. It's literally all about Liam. It's Liam. And I was along for that, thought it was good. And I was probably one of, I don't know, I would say of the episodes I've watched all of season 6 and I've watched now all of season 1. It's definitely the most rewatchable episode for me from season 1. It's among the top 3 overall so far. And I know there's a couple others that are really good that I do know of and I've seen that are even way, way better than this episode. But as far as the ones I've done videos on, it's kind of where this one is. It's actually pretty good. Really enjoyed it. So love to hear from you guys. I know some of you have been big Black Mirror fans forever. I'm kind of late to the game. I've never watched them all. And I definitely have not done what I'm doing now where I'm kind of watching them back. And it is fascinating to think about. It's already been out there for over 10 years. And I think because we lost a couple of years because of the pandemic, it feels kind of weird that it kind of got sped up on us. We didn't really celebrate the anniversary of Black Mirror because it happened in 2011. So it's just, 10 years are gone. So anyway, that's my take on it. Love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I am Pops.